In the 7 days since her arrival at Windfell, there wasn't a night when Aife Mac Avain did not pray for rain. On the 8th day the princess got her wish. It's still not like home, she thought, perched upon the branch of her tree in the garden. She decided it was her tree because it looked so much like the big black oak growing out the center of her father's hall back home. Only she wasn't allowed to climb a father's tree. That tree was sacred, though the Druids had never explained why, not even to her. Her elder brother Briar thought a god had died there, his bones turning into roots and branches, one half seeking the land, the other half seeking the sky. There were no gods in this Wildran, at least none that lived or died. Prince Devon's gods had reigned for years, never changing, never growing, always the same sun and moon crossing the same blue sky. My gods at least know what it's like to scrape their knees. It had been hard to climb the tree in a lady's dress, but the princess had managed it all the same, tying her skirts up in a knot about her waist and shimmying up the trunk. A thorny branch had torn her sleeve, another cut through her stocking and scratched her leg. But once she was above, she didn't mind the scrapes and bruises. Mother had always hated her climbing, but trees were better than towers and cliff sides, or so her father said. So the queen did not complain. King Abel even encouraged it. My little sparrow, he liked to call her, born to the trees, born to the wind. But that was before her great uncle Gawain's hall was put to the torch, before other Uncle Malcolm rode north and never came back, before father got so scared. Scared of crows, scared of ships, scared of everything. He tried to hide it, though. Gawain and Malcolm were a mother's kin from the Highland March, and the march was not the same as Ambermound, he reasoned. The older children knew better, the dour twins Briar and Elspeth in their 20th year, fair Fiona, not yet 17, and Aoife knew as well. "It'll be okay," Mother had whispered in the wee hours of the night. "You'll be safe, little ones, you'll be safe. Your father will protect you." Aoife had a dream, a terrible dream the night after, of a crow all twisted and dead, devouring the city. She had seen her father crushed in its talons, with Amber Hall ablaze behind him. The flames weren't right either, all black and red with wisps of blue. Aoife had felt the heat, felt her skin peeling off as it burnt beneath the flames. She woke in her mother's arms, drenched in sweat and shaking. They told her she'd been screaming something fierce. But she couldn't have screamed. It had been too hot to scream. The slightest noise would have boiled in her throat and turned to ash in her mouth. Then the next day she was sent to live with her father's natural sister and her husband far away in Lowkirk. Briar and Elspeth had been sent to Alterland to be guarded as the heirs of Woodland. Fiona had been forced onto a ship headed for the Smiling Isles. The boys, Briar and little Duncan, were taken all the way to live with a friend in the Outyards. The Outyards! It can't be safer there, she thought. The mere notion made Aoife fear for her little brothers so far away. Father had thought it safer for his youngest children to live in the wild, lawless reaches of the world than to remain in Woodland. That meant something. Dreams have power, he told Aoife the day she'd gone. Your mother sometimes knows things, sees things. Your grandmother did as well. Your great-grandmother, she was famous for it. "I know," she'd answered, "but I'm not like them. I'm not. I'm not." But it didn't matter what she said. Her father wouldn't have listened to the gods themselves if they told him otherwise. He was too scared of the Ash Wolf and his wretched son and one-eyed daughter. Now Woodland was gone. Aoife hadn't been a month at Lowkirk before the king in Wildren was dead, and the Duke brought her along for the funeral. Worse, Aunt Tara didn't even join them. She was too sick to make the journey, her husband said. Too sick or too stubborn? Aoife had wondered at the time. Tara Wolfsbane liked to boast that she had never set foot south of the Bay of Red Ruin, that no southern gods nor southern people would ever tempt her to do so. Strange enough, the Duke seemed to agree with her. But it is not without its uses, this gathering of lords both high and low, Uncle Duncan told his ward. "You are a charming girl, Aoife, and I like to think I am not without influence. Tara cares deeply about her family, and her family is mine now. Mine, and together, perhaps you and I will be able to get the help your father so desperately requires." The word desperately had hung on the air. Aoife made her peace with that. She had not yet made her peace with so much sunlight, however. The princess had spent most of the journey south in the back of a carriage, trying to avoid another sunburn. Woldlings were not made for the golden sun of the south, for the cliffs and mountains and hills, for mists and wetlands and moors. Aoife had wondered how the Wildrani could stomach such heat, and it seemed Uncle Duncan had similar notions, though he kept them better hidden. The funeral had felt like a blessing once they reached the darkness of the grand cathedral, but that poor family made her sad. She was glad to have seen the prince smile. He probably needed it after everything that had happened, his own blood gone against him. That was nothing good. Aoife knew what her father would say. The laws of the land are clear. There should be no question about this succession. He'd make some comment about honor and duty to one's family. Then his castellan would walk in and inform them of some earl refusing to pay taxes. Father would only shrug and say, "Let's think on it tomorrow," and let the matter rest. That was his way, calm and cheerful. "Oh, father," Aoife said, shaking her head at the memory. At least she had a tree, she had her rain. It was falling heavy now, with a tangle of clouds overhead, looking most dour indeed. But still it made her smile. The sound of it pattering through the leaves, and the earthen smell that rose from the garden made her think of home. It was too hot for home, but perhaps it was close enough. Aoife looked out across the tiers of the castle, high over the white city. Windfell is beautiful, I'll give it that. I reckon it's the most beautiful city this side of the world. Devon was lucky to live here, she decided. The prince was so pale and small enough that even with the golden hair he reminded her of a Woldling, a Mac Avain. But he'd like it north. She caught a yellow leaf as it fell from the great tree, and sat there twirling it between her fingers. Falling so soon? The eve isn't even past us yet. That got her excited. Fall was such a magical time of year. And after fall came winter. Men did not often go to war in the winter. Men and women, she reminded herself. There was still that one-eyed witch and her ashen father. They would be beaten soon enough. God, she prayed, make it so. Be good to my father. Look after him, and my mother, and my brothers Briar and Brian and little Duncan, my sisters Elspeth and Fiona. Look after Aunt Tara and Uncle Duncan. I suppose you might call him Big Duncan, and the prince as well, Prince Devon Thorn. I know he's not yours, but I think he needs all the help he can get. Uh, I'll pray twice as much if that helps. Just please, keep us all safe. Help us, gods. I don't think anyone else is going to."